second teacher just finally made it into the building. Everybody say hello to Wesley Ulloa. And obviously, Katherine Arteta is already in the house. And we are here to teach you today about seller representation. Now, before we get started, we do have a few sponsors and guests that we'd like to recognize. Is Henry in the house with TrueView?
Hey, how you doing, Kevin? Thank you.
Very good. Henry, thank you so much for sponsoring this class. And hey, man, this is the first time you've done something with us. Normally we get Katie or Lewis. We're happy to see you as part of the family. So tell us about all the new changes at TrueView, what you're going to be doing, and how you can help realtors in their services.
Sounds good. First of all, good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing very well. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, in this market now, as we all are aware, there is a lack of inventory. So it is very important to work with an inspection company that you can confide in or fully trust. So I just wanted to go over a couple of points that separate us from the rest of the inspection companies. Let's start with immediate report delivery. So we do offer immediate report delivery. What does this mean? Once the inspection is over, before the inspector leaves the property, he'll go ahead and submit the report to the buyer and the agent. And you'll have the full home inspection report along with a 4-point and wind mitigation insurance documents in your inbox before the inspector leaves the property. Yes, you can hold them hostage for that report. So you guys will be able to, as soon as that inspection's over, you already have the documentation, you can already get started with the entire process. Number two, we offer HD photos and videos in all of our reports. This is very important, especially if you have an out-of-state buyer that is not able to be present in the inspection. They're going to have these videos. They're going to feel like they were in that inspection. It kind of goes into more detail, certain aspects of the report that maybe you won't be able to comprehend with just writing or pictures. The videos go more in depth. And then number three, we do offer a 200% satisfaction guarantee. What does this mean? This means that within 24 hours, if you haven't received your report, obviously we offer immediate report delivery, or you're not satisfied with the service that we have provided, not only will we reimburse the inspection 100%, but we will pay for whatever inspection company of choice to go back out there and perform the inspection once again. So yes, please give us a shot in your next inspection if you have not already. And I really appreciate all of you. I'm going to go ahead and go on the chat, and I'm going to drop the website, Instagram handle, and phone number, all that information. In case you guys have any further questions, you can go ahead and reach out to us.
Thank you so much, Henry. We really appreciate your time and coming to tell us about everything that TrueView has to offer today. Next up, we have Don. Now, tax season's over for most of us, but some people do have to report quarterly. And some of you might have to be filing an extension. Who knows? If you're needing to file an extension still, Don might be able to help you. So Don, tell us what you do, what's the company you work for, and why taxes are so ding-dang important.
Sure. My name is Don Fallenbaum, CPA. I've been in practice about 25 years, and I specialize in the real estate space. I help realtors, real estate brokerage offices, as well as real estate investors. So I'm here. My role to be part of your team is, number one, to help you out with your tax situation, accounting situation, making sure you have the best business structure set up, whether it's a PA or an LLC, hopefully an LLC taxed as an S Corp, PA as an S Corp. I see a lot of issues come my way that, with a little bit of planning up front, could save a lot of headaches and make sure that you have the best structure in place to save you money, and also keep you organized, how to keep your books properly, estimated payments if necessary. Basically take that part of your business so that you have the peace of mind to focus on what you do best, and that's real estate. Besides for yourselves, I'm also here as a resource for your clients. You may have a client that has a question about something related to taxes, whether it's an investor or an individual, purchasing a property for themselves as a primary residence. I can help you as a resource for your clients. Either they ask you a question, you can come to me and say, hey, Don, I have a client that has a question about this. I can relate it to you. You can go back to the client, or you could put them directly in touch with me. And it's kind of a value added service for you. It makes you look good, that you have a solid team behind you with all the resources that your client needs. With that said, like Kevin said, tax season is behind us, kind of, sort of. There's still a lot of taxpayers on extension. I could help you with that if you haven't filed yet. And my process is very, very easy, very efficient. I have a secure portal systems. I can meet via Zoom. When tax returns are completed, we can review the tax return on screen via Zoom. Makes it very, very efficient. Everything done electronically, all payments, all signatures, making as convenient as I can for my clients. I do offer no charge initial consultations. If you want to pick my brain about something, feel free to reach out to me. My website has a booking scheduling system within the website. So you can just go in there, schedule an appointment, 15 minutes, a half an hour, what have you. And I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully I can help some of you. And before something happens, where I have to come back and play cleanup. So I encourage everybody, if you have any issues, any questions, if you're unsure about something, reach out to a professional, and it'll save you a lot of issues on the back end, whether me or someone else. I highly, highly encourage that. So with that said, I'll hand it back to Kevin.
Thanks, Don. And yeah, guys, he'll help you with your tax extensions. I know there might be a few of you out there that might.
Yeah, there probably is a few.
Yeah, there's always a few.
I would say there's probably a few.
I'll say it. So extend with Don. Your life will be a little less stressful, which is important.
And peace of mind.
Yeah, another way to live a less stressful realtor life is when you have all the listings in your pocket. And today we have two fantastic people that are going to be telling us all about how to service your sellers the best so that you continue to leverage more business in the listing side of real estate. Obviously, buying side is fun too, but it's pretty rough out there right now. It's hard to get an offer accepted. It's always a little more fun when you're accepting the offer. So with that, we are introducing now Katherine Arteta and Wesley Ulloa. Katherine, are you going to be sharing the screen? Wesley, are you going to be sharing the screen?
I'll be sharing the screen.
You will be? Perfect. So you already co-host. Wesley, I'll make you co-host as well right now. But the floor is yours. Thank you so much for teaching this class today. And I can't wait to learn from y'all.
Great. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thank you again, Don and Henry from TrueView.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, by the way. So before we get started, guys, questions in the chat, comments in the chat, we will be checking it periodically. There's no such thing as a stupid question. We want you guys to get as much out of the class today. So feel free to ask away. And while Katherine gets that up, you guys could all comment in the chat if you are primarily buyer's agents, seller's agents, and how long you have been working in real estate. It'll be great for us to kind of gauge, who our audience is. So if you want to put buyer agent, seller agent, and length of time you've been in real estate, that would be super helpful for us.
Right. So we're going to be covering working with sellers from actually the very beginning on how to find these sellers, especially in this market, right? All the way to the closing table, and then afterwards on how to nurture them. Right.
A little bit about me. My name is Wesley Ulloa. I am the broker owner of Lux Properties. But more importantly, I was your 2019 YPN president. So I love Miami YPN. I've met so many amazing people through YPN, through Miami Realtors Leadership. So I highly encourage you guys all to get involved because that's the reason me and Katherine are here speaking to you guys today. And we met through leadership, and you meet great people. It'll help your business. And it's nice to have camaraderie in real estate. Real estate is competitive. So it's nice to have a group of people that work together, even if they don't work in the same companies, that you can bounce ideas from, that will help you grow.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katherine Arteta, also with Lux Properties. I'm on the YPN Leadership Board, third year now. If you have any interest in any of the leadership boards, watch out for that email around, it comes out around the summertime. That will ask you if you're looking to get involved, but I highly encourage everyone to at least start participating in our events. It's a great group, as she mentioned. You build amazing relationships, and it helps in the future because you never know when you're going to work with each other. We're probably one of, if not the only profession where two competing salespeople have to work in unison in order to get paid at the end. All right, so to start off our class, this is what we are going to cover today. We're going to start off with how to find sellers. Once you find that potential seller, how you're going to handle that initial call, questions to ask, what to look for in order to make sure that you set that appointment. Once you set that appointment, how to prep for your listing presentation, how to have a killer listing presentation in order to obtain that listing. Once you have that listing, you have to make it work for yourself, right? Especially in this market, more listings could equal more potential sellers and also buyers if you leverage them correctly. And then also how to get to the closing table, because it's very important. The market is hot, but just because you have a listing, it's not guaranteed that you are going to get to that closing table. All right, so to start off with lead gen, very first one, I know you hear it time and time again, but they are winners. Circle prospecting, going around, calling your neighbors, for sale by owners. Who here prospects for sale by owners? There's a lot of companies out there that will sell you for sale by owner leads and expired leads. However, these are leads that are easily accessible to you that you can obtain for free. Zillow, for example, Zillow loves selling everyone leads, but you can actually set yourself on an automatic notification for specific areas, or if you just want to set it for the entire county, for specific for sale by owner properties when they come out on the market. So every single day you can be opening up your email with an email from Zillow saying, hey, this property just came on the market. And if your filter's only for sale by owner, that's a lead. Expired. So when I talk about expireds, I know a lot of people are probably thinking that they're not that common in this market because basically everything that is popping up sells, right? But think bigger picture. Think of the past expireds. You can easily pull these from either Remine or IMAP. And I'm talking about expired listings that were never relisted from, let's say, a year ago. To give you an example, Miami-Dade County right now has 1,300 expired single-family homes that have never been relisted in the past year. Over 2,500 expired condos. That's over 300 possible seller leads that you have at your fingertips that you can easily prospect. Broward has over 1,900 expired condos and single family homes. They have over 2,500 expired in the last year. If these sellers put their house on the market for once, more than likely their motivation is still there. So and I would consider that a much better lead than, let's say, buying a lead off an online engine or an online company. These already had that motivation, so it's
I think Catherine's frozen, right? It's not me.
Yeah, she fell off the map.
It was Catherine.
There we go.
Catherine breaking it up.
If Catherine breaks up again, it's okay. I'll take over. But while we wait for her to come back, if we can mute everybody from there. But while we wait for Catherine to come back, let me just jump in. So I think she was mentioning, these expired leads are much more valuable because that they wanted to sell at some point. So am I breaking up too? No,
No,
okay.
you're good. But
Okay.
we just lost your PowerPoint.
Oh, it's okay. I'll speak from memory. So expired leads are a little bit more valuable because that they wanted to sell at one point. So it's a great starting point. Circle prospecting. Has everybody here heard from circle prospecting? And by the way, actually, before we go into circle prospecting, can we get more of you guys to turn your cameras on too so we can see some expressions back? Can we see some faces? I'm all about energy. I'm all about interaction. So yes, look at those cameras. Yes, yes, yes. So I want to see thumbs up. I want to see yeses. I want to see people commenting on the chats. Catherine, I think Catherine's back, so we could get that PowerPoint up and running. But Catherine, am I good to take it from here for this slide? I think she's muted. Technical difficulties, but I'll keep going. So,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had myself muted. Sorry, I hooked up to my hotspot now, so that should not happen again. So let me share this.
So I think the most important thing when it comes to circle prospecting, or even calling expireds or calling FSBOs, is you want to differentiate yourself, right? And part of, getting sellers, you have to really start working on developing some niches for yourself or some competitive advantage, especially if you're going to circle prospect. So the idea behind circle prospecting is picking an area and targeting all homeowners in that area, right? We're calling FSBOs and expireds might be more of like a really targeted approach. Circle prospecting is blanket, and you're going to want to talk to each and every single person in that area. Now, the more that you call these individuals, send different marketing pieces to them, the more you can get sellers to come to you. I currently do what I would consider my circle prospecting, which I specialize in older historic homes in South Florida, right? So I run Miami Historic Homes, and I focus on targeting sellers for Miami Historic Homes and reaching out to those people. So I don't do the expireds or the FSBOs, which are great, but those are kind of your own niche too, right? Because you want to really practice. If you're making these calls, you want to practice your scripts to hit these people, right? And really become an expert in them. So circle prospecting is one way. You could pick an area, own that area, target everybody in that area and contact them. I would say every single month minimum. Call them, introduce yourself, say, I just sold so-and-so property in the area. I had 5 buyers that were interested and got outbid that are still looking for a home. Have you considered selling? That's one way. Then you could also just go ahead and introduce yourself and say you're doing market evaluations for everybody. Do you know how much your home is worth? And having an action plan to stay in touch with them. The same thing with expireds. How Catherine was mentioning, there's a huge chunk of expired listings that haven't hit the market. That is potential inventory for you guys. And even FSBOs. Well, yes, it's a low inventory environment right now. And those FSBOs, for example, might, be able to do it on their own. Are they going to really get top dollar if they do it on their own? So those are the questions that, you need to ask yourself and decide which way you want to go from there. Catherine, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, in addition, and touching on for sale by owners, a lot of agents now, especially in this market, are writing them off, and we're starting to see maybe a little bit more, but if you keep track of them, they do end up listing with an agent because they're not reaching as many people. In order to achieve these prices, especially that huge difference in over ask that we're seeing in today's market, you have to reach as many people as possible to get those dozen offers. For sale by owners are never going to reach that many because it's not syndicated to as many people. Most buyers are working with agents, and sometimes it takes a couple weeks of them being on the market for them to realize that, and then they'll realize the true value of the agent and how they're really not going to save commission.
Another thing that I want to mention for you guys when it comes to circle prospecting, expired, and FSBOs. Maybe you don't like doing the calls yourself. You could hire an ISA, an inside sales agent, to do it. I truly believe if you're just starting to go into, becoming a seller's agent, which I read your comments in the chat, a lot of you guys are, you really should be making the calls yourself, because how are you going to manage somebody else doing it if you don't even know how to do it yourself? But it's something to consider longer term. I've seen a lot of success with that. I currently have ISAs calling for different things, and we're starting to see turnover for them making listing appointments. So that is something to consider. I'm going to continue on with this one, and then I'm going to talk about postcards. If you want to get seller leads, I really encourage you guys to do postcards. I am postcards' biggest fans. Whenever I list and sell a property, I send out a postcard. But I've also recently started a campaign for Miami Historic Homes, right? So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, feel free. But I started a campaign that I am mailing every single historic homeowner in Dade County. And I am sending a mailer every single month, right? And I'm doing a just sold, I'm sprinkling in know your home value, I'm putting a just sold, then I'm doing, do you know what your home is worth? If you want your postcards to be effective, you need to do them consistently. Okay, that is the most important thing. A lot of you guys are like, let me just send one postcard and I'm going to expect a listing presentation, or I'm going to expect a listing to come out of this. It's more about consistently going out there and sending these every single month. Does it cost money? Yes, but over time, that's when you're going to get those residual gains and you're going to start getting more calls and more calls and more calls. Now, whenever I send out a postcard, it might take 2 postcards. Every 2 postcards I send out, I get a listing appointment. Every 2 postcards. So hopefully over time, it'll be every postcard, right? Once they start seeing your face so much. But before, it wouldn't be that continuous. Now I'm getting one every 2 times I'm sending out one. I'm also seeing more success in the ones that are targeted, right? Versus the ones that are just in the neighborhood. My targeted ones, I'm getting more responses, but I highly recommend you put a QR code on them so you could track and have them scan that to instantly get their home value, because that's been helping a lot too. Next thing that I also recommend doing to get seller leads, you could do Google and Facebook ads for sellers. If you look at Google, right, go on Google today and Google sell my home fast realtor Miami. And guess what? You see realtors doing ads there, right? And those are people looking to sell their house that you could potentially be reaching out to, getting in front of them and getting appointments. Also, Facebook ads. You could be putting out Facebook ads. I've seen a great Facebook ad. One is like, my home value in 2015 was $300,000. My home value in 2022 is $600,000. Want to know what your home is worth, right? Things like that, which, you could get individuals to click, register, and those are potential listing leads from there. Katherine, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so Facebook ads will be much less and will give you a lot of quantity. It's going to be a lot more lead flow, which is a lot more opportunities. Quality though, if you do it right, you can really hone in on Google. It'll be a bit more, but once you have the account set up and you have the campaign running, it needs to collect some data first, but then you go into your Google Analytics and you can narrow it down. It's not regulated yet. That's what's happened with Facebook, that you can't really hone in too much. But with Google, you can narrow it down to price point, income, specific neighborhoods. It'll show you the times that people are viewing the ads. So you can actually, if you see that the peak time is, let's say 12 to 5, you can set a time for your campaign to only run 12 to 5. Because the way that they charge you is based on pay-per-clicks. So if you have it on, obviously 24 hours a day, you're going to get random people clicking on it. But if you see the prime time is 12 to 5, you want it running there. It also shows you what devices your ads are coming out. If it's a computer, a tablet, phone, that also will tell you and give you ideas for other types of marketing. If you see that the majority are looking at a tablet or a phone, you know that they have Instagram and Facebook readily available. So you might also want to then go ahead and invest some money on those apps, because more than likely they're also clicking on those apps and scrolling.
Yeah. to continue with that. And if you guys want to see my postcards at the end, I'll get you guys some postcards that you could see, by the way, as we continue. But another thing that you guys could be doing to get seller leads. There is a lot of online companies that will send you seller leads for a fee. Like Zillow and OpCity send you leads. Well, OpCity actually does send you seller leads, by the way. But as those send you leads, right, for buyers primarily, you have other companies that will send you seller leads. You want to look into, I'm going to name a few, right? Effective Agents is one. Homelight is another one. Movoto, they changed their name. I have to get you the updated name. Fast Expert. You guys should sign up for all of those companies because they will pass over to you listing leads and you pay them a referral success fee, right? So I highly recommend you sign up for all of them. Professional relationships is another one. Me and Katherine were chatting about this yesterday, and going out to potential divorce attorneys, probate attorneys, right? Building those relationships that you could get potential listings through those relationships. I don't know if you want to mention anything on that, Katherine.
And these are just like any relationship that you really have to nurture, especially the professional ones, because they take care of their image just like we do. If we're going to recommend someone, we want to make sure that we've either worked for them with them in the past, or they become highly recommended, because if they end up looking bad to somebody you recommend, you look bad. So it might take a couple outings, coffee talks, but once you build that relationship, you're their person. I used to work with probate attorneys before COVID. They meet once a month. They have all together either for CE or meetings. And I was probably one of two, if not the only agent that would go. And when they would find out I was an agent, they would ask me, what on earth are you doing here? And I would say, oh, I work with a lot of probate clients. And, you know, just one always stay on top of the latest news to better serve them. So then we would start talking, I would build the relationships there. Obviously, COVID happened, they stopped doing those, but they're starting them up again. Find specific niches where specific, let's say, lawyers meet. They all always have monthly meetings somewhere, and get into those meetings and start building those relationships. To me, attorneys are the best referral source you can possibly get, because divorce attorneys, a lot of people are going to get divorced. 9 times out of 10, they will put a property on the market because either they can't buy the other partner out, or they just don't want to deal with the drama, and they just sell and everybody goes their separate ways and their attorney takes care of everything. Unfortunately, everybody will pass away at one point in time. Half the time, the family does not want to deal with going out and finding an agent and interviewing them. Again, a probate attorney is always going to get involved and will handle that for them. And it's a lead, it's a listing that just gets passed on to you.
Yeah. With that being said, if you're going to be reaching out to these probate attorneys and everybody, remember their time is money as well. So, you know, you have to be providing some kind of value to them in order if you think that you're going to get business from them, right? Realtors are a dime a dozen. You need to separate yourself as well if you don't already have those relationships, right? Just to start bridging them. I know of an attorney, not an attorney. I'm going to tell you about a realtor in another market that I learned about. And I was like, man, this is how you could separate yourself from the pack and really leave an impact on people. He wanted to do probates, right? And he only does high-end probates. He's out in Colorado. He only does high-end probate listings. And how he started his probate listing business, by the way, is he would book appointments with attorneys, right? And he would say, I want to book an appointment for an hour consultation with this attorney, this attorney, this attorney, and literally pay the $350 an hour or $500 an hour to sit in front of these people and get their time, and then go and sit down and tell them how you should give me your probate business, right? So think differently and think outside the box. That same agent, by the way, he only does probates. And now he started that way, and how he actually farms for business, right? Because farming is important. What he does is he scours the obituaries. That is a true listing agent. He finds the people who passed away, he contacts the families, and he goes after the listing appointments that way, right? And he basically says, he actually reaches out to the actual funeral home and says, I want to send the family flowers. I heard this happened. He gets their address, the phone number, and he gets the information and calls like the person who's heading everything and gets in front of these people in a tactful way. But I want you guys to think about all of these differently, right? So when you're circle prospecting, calling expireds, calling FISBOs, how can you provide value? How can you get in front of them? Postcards, same thing. You have to really, really consider all of that. And finally, the best way to get sellers is right in your sphere, right? You guys have sellers right under your fingertips, under your nose, however you want to say it, but you're not reaching out to them as often as you should. Your past clients, it's the same thing. You have so many people that you have sold properties to as buyer's agents. You need to stay in touch with them because those are your potential sellers down the road. I have built a business already to where I am in my career that all my past clients, just by staying in touch with them, I can tell you 5 to 7 years later, they're going to call me to sell their house. They're literally going to call me to sell their house because I am not going to let them forget about me or use another realtor because I stay in touch with them, right? So you need to be providing value to them. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But it's really, really, really staying in touch with them at all points, even after the transaction, because your past clients should be using you to sell as long as you aren't being a secret agent. A few other things that I want to add on that: consistency is everything. We had an event last week and it's like, everybody's like, consistency is key. Consistency is key. No, consistency is undefeated. The majority of the realtors out there, I'm going to tell you everything on this slide and you're going to try it once and not do it again, and try it once and try it once and not continue with it, right? Those of you guys that continue and you really follow through and you stick to an action plan and you do some of these things for 12 months. Don't do all of them. Just pick one and excel at one and do it for 12 months. And I promise you, your business is going to grow.
And I do want to add, tracking also is everything, especially when you're spending your hard-earned marketing dollars. If let's say you do postcards and then you do some online advertising and other things, track it. Track how much you're spending. Track how many leads are coming in, how many appointments you're getting from the leads, and then how many actually turn into fruition. So you can get a true value and see where you can pour a little bit more money into, or if you just need to pull out of one marketing source altogether. But you have to track. You can't just blindly market yourself in a million different areas without knowing your return on investment.
Yeah.
Also, if you're new and you're saying to yourself, oh, I don't have any past clients to prospect, especially sellers, you have a database right in your phone, probably of more than several hundred contacts. Put them all in a CRM, put them all on some sort of drip campaign. You can't spend money on a CRM right now. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of contacts that own property. If you're looking for something cost-effective that is free, the board has eProperty Watch. It's right on your dashboard. You can input your contacts' information, the property in which they live on, and the program develops a portal for their property where they can go in, see how much it's gone up, the equity that they have, the recently sold properties, and it gets sent to them every single month on your behalf. And you can actually see who clicks on it and who doesn't. So whether you're new or seasoned, you have a huge marketing budget or not, there's things for everyone that you can do.
Now, did you guys get something that you could implement in your businesses today that will help you get more sellers? If so, please show us a thumbs up. I want interaction. I want to make sure you guys are with us. All right. Remember, when we're doing a Zoom, we don't get to see you guys. We see whoever gives us a little bit of feedback on there, but we want to definitely make sure you're getting value today. Katherine, if you want to go ahead and go to the next one.
All right, so
Hopefully you
Hey,
guys. Yeah.
before we go to the next one, we have our next sponsor, Giovanni. Are you here,
Right.
my man?
Can you see me and hear me, sir?
We can hear you. Here, hold on. Bring
I'm
down
gonna
the
stop my
screen.
screen
Hey,
share
Giovanni,
so everyone can see him.
do you need to share your screen for anything?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to roll. Can we jump in?
Let's jump in.
You know it's gonna be a great day when the gift guy shows up. Yes or yes? If we've never met, I see a bunch of familiar faces. If you've never met, my name's Giovanni Pastrana, Cutting Edge Gifts, Cutco Closing Gifts. What we do, we just help to make sure that your clients stay your clients forever, right? That you stay top of mind with every client you work with. I think Wesley was just chatting about this, right? Your sphere and making sure that they remember you, especially when they need you again. So we've been the largest closing gift company in the nation for the last 15 years. And what we found was 90% of gifts are usually wine, champagne, gift cards, gift baskets. I'm not here today to tell you that clients don't like those. People love gifts. They're free, right? But what we found was, when you guys think about it, you can post in the chat box if you'd like, where are most gifts 36, 48 months down the road, right? What happens to them? And you're probably thinking, they're eaten, they're drinking, they're consumed, right? They're here today and they're gone tomorrow. And that's just not really a system to keep you top of mind. So we found the solution. One of the products that we're actually most known for is our Cutco knives. And I know we got some Cutco owners on the call. We always do. Do me a favor, actually, because I know some have cameras on, some don't. If you own Cutco, go in the chat box really quick and just share how long you've had your Cutco, what you like most about it. I see James is screaming in the chat box there. I love the energy. But share how long you've had your Cutco, 12 years, which is amazing. When's the last time we gave a gift to a client that they had 12 years later, right? That's crazy. If you're not familiar with the product, all it is like the Rolls-Royce Bentley of the kitchen. They're 100% made in America. They're guaranteed forever. They're super high quality. And what we do with the product that people love and use every day, some folks have had it for over 12 years, is we'll take it and we'll engrave it, right? We'll brand it with your business, your logo, your name, your phone number on the gift itself. So keeps you top of mind, sparks conversation when they have friends and family over, right? Mother's Day, 4th of July barbecue, because it's engraved. I was chatting in an office earlier. It's 100% tax deductible, right? As marketing. So you get the full tax write-off, not just that $25 deduction that you're allowed to do with gifts. And then the last thing we do is simple. We just get you a stock of gifts based on your business. So you're not running around town last minute, right? Oh my God, don't know what to get. We make it simple. All your clients cut food into smaller pieces, right? They all have a kitchen, something that everybody could use. So I want to do something special for you guys for being here, for leveling up your business. I'm going to give you my cell phone number here. And I'll give you about 3 seconds to kind of grab your cell phones. And what we'll do, I love rewarding people for taking action in their business. So if you're on the call, you have interest in gifts, you have closings coming up, you want some more information, you're just going to text me with your name and your email. And what I'll do is I'll get you $150 in free Cutco with your order. My gift to you for taking some action. So my cell phone number is here. You ready? 954-303-9809. I'll pop it up there for a quick second. 954-303-9809. Text me your name, text me your email. We'll get you that $150 in free Cutco. We'll upgrade you since you're on the beautiful YPN course today that you didn't need to take, but you're here so you can get some value, like Wesley said. So I want to make sure I reward you guys for being here. So name and email, my phone number there. And I'm looking forward to chatting. Have a super sharp rest of the class, and we'll take it over and kick it back to Katherine or Wesley.
Thank you so much. And I'm really going to take advantage of that. What is it? How much? 150 you said?
Yeah, and free Cutco with your order. I got you.
All right. All right. So we're going to talk about gifts later today. We're not going to talk about it too much yet because we have a lot more to go through. But thank you so much. Kevin, are we free to go? All right.
All right, let me share my screen again. And thank you, Giovanni. Once we hit the gifts portion, hey, your man is here. There's no reason that they should not be remembering your name and phone number when they are cutting all their things in the kitchen. All right, let me share.
I was hoping I could spotlight 2 people. Oh yeah, I can. There we go. All right, so we're both spotlighted. All right, so back to where we were. All right, we're gonna start going through this a little quicker with you guys. You spend a lot of time on lead gen because if you don't have leads, the rest of the stuff that we teach you, it's important, but you need the leads to actually put it into use. So hopefully you're going to get your sellers, whether it's through your calls, your mailers, your online advertising, whether it's through your past clients, but you have people that want to sell your house. Number one is finding those people. Number two, how do you handle them when they come through? Now, you're going to have a difference when you're doing outbound calling versus inbound calling, right? You really want to be focusing on getting as much inbound calls as possible of people that want to sell your house, but that does take time, right? At the beginning, you're going to have to do outbound marketing to get these people. But you should have specific goals whenever you're handling any potential person that wants to sell. Your number one goal on any client call, your number one goal on any real estate call, get an appointment, right? Whether it's a seller or buyer, get an appointment to meet them in person. You do not close real estate on your phone. You close in person by meeting with these people. Yes, are deals made over the phone all the time, but you need to get that face-to-face meeting with people so you can build that rapport, especially if they're not your sphere or your past clients, right? You need to meet these people and differentiate and provide value to them, just like we're here providing value to you guys. Same principle, same idea. So number one goal, set the appointment. That is the first thing that you should be doing whenever somebody calls you and says, I want to sell my house. Great, awesome. It's really important for me to view your property, see, the upgrades that you've done to your home, see everything. And that way, I could give you an accurate estimate of value. When are you available? When can I see your home? When can we meet? However it is, you don't even have to go into so much detail. When can we meet? Oh, I don't know, can you tell me how much, my home is worth? Well, no, you're not going to tell them on the phone. You're going to go to your next thing. You're going to ask them, well, can you tell me a little bit of why do you want to sell? What's motivating you to sell, right? That's the next most important thing you need to find out. Why do they want to sell? There's a lot of things that you want to find out with that, but you want to see how motivated they are. There's some specific drivers that force people to sell faster than others, right? Are they more motivated? I always like to think in your D's. Remember your D's when you remember sellers. And I hate to say death again, but death, right? Divorce, downsizing, doctor, you could go diapers, right? So those are 5 really great D's that you need to remember, because those are all things that push people to sell, right? Somebody passing away, which is unfortunate. Diapers, somebody having babies, they run out of space. Doctors, they might have some kind of health issue going on, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality of it, right? Downsizing, right? Older age, and they don't need all that space. And and debt, right? People behind on actual payments or having trouble. One of them on there that I didn't mention, I have to find a D for it. Maybe you guys could think of it and write it in the chat, is people having to get relocated for work, right? Relocation, but that's another one. So those are the ones that you want to hear. In this market, you do hear a lot of, well, the market's so hot, I want to take advantage of it. That's another, driver right now. But you want to find that motivation, because that's going to be your hot point for later destination. I like it. There we go. Somebody got me a D. That's going to be your driver. That's going to be your hot point when you're meeting with them in person. So find out what it is. Where do they plan to go? That is extremely important. Because you want to maybe get a potential sale. I just listed and sold a house, historic, in Miami Springs, and they are relocating to California. And I got the referral from California. I'm getting a 25% commission check on a sale in California. That is pretty much the price of a property here when you really consider it, because their starter homes are $2 million, right? So I'm going to get a 25% referral for doing nothing. You want to ask these questions, or you might also get a potential buy side as well. I always love to ask the upgrades and the condition, what is it? Because clients truly feel that they're going to get dollar for dollar back. If they invested $100,000, they feel like they're going to get that $100,000 back. Doesn't mean it's accurate, but I'm just letting you guys know that that's what's in their mind. And most importantly, and this is the one that most people don't do because they're so excited because they're like, I have somebody who wants to sell their house. I have somebody who wants to sell their house. And they forget to ask what the clients think their home is worth. Why don't we do that? Because we're excited. You don't want to ask. It's really important because that's going to help you overcome those objections later. You need to ask that question. And sometimes when you ask that question, well, they're going to say, well, I don't know. That's why I'm hiring you. And that's when you're going to say something along the lines of, you know what, you're right. And I can't give you a value until I see your home, but I'm sure you've, you know what's happening in your neighborhood. You know where your neighbors are at. You've checked Zillow. I mean, I'm not having you give me a number to stick to it. I just kind of want to know, what have you been seeing? And once you start pushing a little bit more, you will get them to give you that number, right? So you want to find out, because ideally, if you go in with a bigger number, that should be an easier close than if you're going with a number that's lower. Katherine, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. And then to me, one of the most important things, ask where they're going, upgrades, everything, but motivation. Motivation is everyone's hot button in anything you do in life, but especially in real estate. So once you set that appointment, be like, okay, great. So what is motivating you to sell your home? But you need to get specific. Maybe they are downsizing, they're sick, they're feeling alone in such a big house, they're sick of cleaning it. Maybe they're retiring and just they want to move to the Keys, they want to sip pina coladas all day. You have that in your back pocket. So the minute that they give you any type of objection, you bring that up. No, I'm gonna wait, call me back in about a month. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you just told me you were feeling alone in that house. It's too much already, maintenance. Wouldn't you like to not have to deal with it and just be in a more small, serene place where you just don't have to worry about the lawn anymore, XYZ? Just remind them and paint that picture for them so you can push them to say yes to that appointment. And then once you are in that door, hopefully you close it. Now, speaking of your sellers, everyone has a different type of personality, right? In this profession, I always like to say we need to be like chameleons. We all have our own personalities too, but we cannot talk in the same exact way to every single person. It's going to be impossible for you to be able to get through to every single person if you don't try to assimilate a bit with their personality. That being said, we have to be great listeners. Therefore, try to see what type of personalities they are in order to know, especially once you're in that door and doing the listing presentation, how to present in the best manner in order to get their business. Disc profile. I'm going to go quickly through it. The high Ds, I think we all know who those are. They're the ones that always feel like they need to be in control. They're very direct, decisive. You need to be extremely confident, stand your ground, but you also need to always feel like they're in control. So you give them the price and then just say, don't you, or give them your marketing plan and just say, don't you agree this is going to be the best action in order to net you top dollar? You're handing that power over to them. They're going to say yes, but at least they feel like, yes, they're making that decision. They don't like small talk. They do not care about what happened to you last week, or sometimes even your previous experiences with other sellers. They just want to know facts. How are you going to get it done? How much you're going to net them. That's it. Your high Is, those are your very talkative people. So those you might actually need to spend a little bit more time with, build a relationship with. These are the ones you want to see if you have anything in common. So you can share a common story. That's how really they start building that relationship with you. You have to be friendly, outgoing, allow time for them to ask questions, as many questions as possible, but not overloading them either with too many details. And then they tend not to be like to be interrupted too much. Your high S's, those are supportive, tactful, but those are the ones that sometimes will take you a little longer to close because they don't like change. They can give you their hot button and tell you all the reasons that they want to sell their house, but at the end of the day, they're dying inside. So they need more reassurance. They want to hear from you how you're going to help them, how you're going to handhold them from beginning to end. If you're a high D, that might actually be the most challenging one for you. And then your C, those are the ones we typically call the high eights, your analyticals, right? The ones that need to see charts, they need to see numbers. These are the ones that you want to take an Excel with exactly the costs, what you're going to net them. They want to see numbers. They want to see what has sold, days on the market. That is how you would win these type of individuals. Do you want to add anything, Wes?
I muted myself, but I want to add really quick a couple of things. I love disc profiles and I love analyzing which person I am and how do I come across to others. It's hard because especially when you're high any of these, right? That's just your natural ability. I'm definitely a high D, right? If you didn't catch me making the jokes while she was talking about it. And it's hard for me to take a step back and not be super controlling and on top of things. But you need to do that so you could sell to everybody. Because if I am just going to be my high D all the time, I'm not going to appeal to those other personality types. So I'm only going to be able to reach 25% of the market. Right? So think about, how you could adapt when you're doing presentations, because it's really, really important. Another thing, and hopefully you guys, I'm going to ask for more participation, right? If you don't know your disc profile, do a test, write what you are in the chat. Hopefully you guys do know that. And then once you know who you are, you're going to be able to analyze who others are better. I learned the other day, or I read an article, I'm really big on reading Inman, and they compared the disc profile to animals, and they were called your D's are lions, right? Your I's are your beavers. I think it's the beavers or the otters, one or the other ones. But they're the ones that are very social. Your S's are dogs, like golden retrievers is what they call them. Right. So, and how she was saying that your D's are going to have problems with your golden retrievers. Imagine a lion and a golden retriever together. What's going to happen? Those two don't necessarily mix. Right. And your C's are, I think, the either the beaver or the otter. Right. But think about it that way. Because if you are a lion, if you're actually better yet, if you're a golden retriever, you're all about playful, fun, getting along. Right? And you go to a listing presentation with a lion, you're going to get eaten alive, and vice versa. Right? If you're going to a listing presentation with a golden retriever and you're a lion, you're going to make them feel so overwhelmed and so anxious, right? That you're not going to get through to them. So keep that in mind when it comes to disc profiles. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. And then watching yourself. Our biggest downfall are our own personalities, our pride. You get two high Ds together and then you have an alpha competition. Learn when to back off, give them the floor. At the end of the day, they are the ones that are going to be paying you.
Next. Okay, so you got your call. Hopefully you know your personality type. It's really important, right? Because then that goes into your prep. Whenever I go and get ready for a listing appointment, right, I hopefully know if I'm dealing with a driver or if I'm dealing with an analytical person, because those are the ones that are a little bit, how would I say it? They're more like streamlined, whereas your S's and your I's are more people oriented, right? So those are a little bit more about building the relationship. It's all about building a relationship, but you better, for your D's and your analyticals, you better have facts, numbers, figures, and that it goes into your prep, right? So whenever the first thing that I do is I look up the property. I look up the MLS history, and I already have all my notes, and I'm looking up the MLS history and I'm looking up Google Earth. maybe I've been to the property before, or at least if I know the area, but I still want to Google Earth it and see the outside. And I want to look up the MLS because I want to see, has this home ever been listed before? What are the old pictures? What does it look like? Which is going to help me come up with my value that I'm going to be presenting to them. Very important for your Ds, your drivers, and your analyticals. I'm going to bring a CMA and I'm going to have my pricing done. We're going to talk about pricing in a little bit. But I typically bring 3 values, a low, medium, and high. So I'm going to have that done. I print it out. I bring it every single time. All right. I am going to send them a pre-listing email. I have an email that I made. And before I go to that listing, I send it to the sellers with everything I do for marketing, everything I do to get their home sold, anything that I have my Zillow profile. I have all the times that I've been featured in press, because I want to show them that they're working with somebody who's a full-time agent, not a part-time agent. And I want to show them that I've sold homes in their area. I send them videos of homes that I've sold. I send them all my different websites, everything, right? So I want to prep them for that presentation. I bring my marketing materials. I have this that I take on all my listing presentations. Hold on, you guys probably can't see it. Well, I hate this. Hold on, wait. I'm gonna get it. There. If I do this, it works. Okay, these virtual backgrounds. So I bring this. I made a guide that I go and I present to all my sellers. And this is my presentation in a book, that I know how to use this book. And I have my presentation that if I go to any listing, I sound exactly the same, right? So I have my framework, because they're going to throw a bunch of objections at you. But I know I'm going to cover 90% of the objections just by doing my standard presentation. So it's really important that I bring this. I already want to know how much is owed on the property. Let me get myself all fixed here. I want to look that up because I want to know what their situation is. I want to make sure all the decision makers are going to be present, right? I had a case right now, a home I just listed, and it's a divorce. There was a husband and a wife, and I asked what's going on with the husband, that he was on title and he wasn't going to be at the presentation. You find out that they're going through a divorce. You want to make sure all of that's done, because if not, you're just going to waste your time and go on an appointment that that husband is still on title. In this case, the husband was already off. She has a quitclaim deed and she has all of that stuff. So you want to make sure you know the real situation. Katherine, you want to add anything? And I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see me though?
Slightly.
Yeah, because I'm frozen on my side. Okay, but as long as you hear me. So as she was saying, having your listing your booklet, or whether it's on an iPad or the listing presentation booklet, but you need to have it. Nowadays, you can do it on an iPad or have it customizable to that specific property. So you can already get there, have it with their names, the property picture, and then have all the information comes along with your presentation there. I
think she's frozen completely now. So I'll go a little bit longer on here. Somebody asked a question, how to check how much is owed. I use IMAP. I'm IMAP's biggest fan. I use it for everything. So you could check the mortgages that are pulled up on a property there. While we wait for her to come back, Kevin, is it okay if I just do a few Q&As here really quick?
Yeah, do that. That'd be perfect.
Okay, cool. Oh, she's back though. Well, guys, since she's back, if you guys want to just write any questions in the chat so we could get a little situated. So any questions from this point on, please write them in the chat, and we are going to do a full Q&A afterwards. Go ahead, Katherine. You're good.
All right, perfect. Sorry about my technical difficulties. Most important, know your numbers and make sure that that decision maker is present. One thing that we forgot to mention on the initial call, everything could be done quickly, right? You're on the call with them. You can have your laptop on. If you are making your calls and you get them on the phone, you have the internet at your disposal. Immediately go on either Miami-Dade County Property Appraisers, bcpa.net, IMAP, pull up and see who the property owners are. So if you're talking to somebody and let's say she says, yes, I'm the owner. Let's say she's the wife, but you see another person on title and you set the appointment, I would ask, is there anybody else that is part of the decision-making process? If she tells you no, maybe I would bring up the fact, okay, is there anyone else on title? Just to make sure that you get everyone there. Because even if, let's say she agrees to the listing, the husband still needs to sign. Or if you see it's a trust, the property's under a trust, you need to find out then who is that trust under that is able to sign the listing appointment. So you need to do all your research also ahead of time to make sure that you're talking to the right people. Anything else you want to add, Wes?
No, I mean, I think
Okay.
I do see a few questions. I did mention a pre-listing email. So I do send that out, which is just me prepping the seller for the presentation. You know, other people go and drop off. Like once you start getting to higher price points, guys, you guys should really be considering, you need to be making custom booklets for your listing presentations. So this is my basic general one that I take to houses up to like 800,000. Once you start getting in higher price points, I'm making a custom listing presentation marketing proposal for that seller. I'm getting a hardcover bounded book and I'm giving them a book about their house, right? So that, no, I do not send any numbers in pre-listing. You never give numbers before you see a house, right? So I give these people books that is all about how I'm going to sell their house. And the higher the price point, the more you need to customize, right? When you go to Christian Dior and Louis Vuitton and you get your monogram on those brands, doesn't that feel good? Those home sellers want that same experience. They want to know that you are an expert in their home, you're an expert in selling their home, and how are you going to customize your marketing to them? It all starts with your presentation, so keep that in mind. If you're interested in anything that me or Katherine are mentioning in here, I don't know, Katherine, are you okay with them shooting you an email?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll drop our emails at the end.
Well, yeah, we're going to drop our emails. We'll give you guys instructions on where to reach out to get you guys this information as well. So I think I covered.
And then just to add a little tidbit, if let's say you had, because a lot of agents have their listing presentation professionally done, so you have just that one template. As long as you have it in a PDF format, I use Canva for everything. You can actually upload the PDF onto Canva and it creates it where you can edit it. You can add pages, remove pages, edit the words, even change the pictures. Just a little tidbit. All right, so must-have components. We briefly wanted to go over this because even in today's market, you cannot skim on your marketing efforts. You still want to tell the sellers that you're going to set up a property website for them. You're going to do a video Matterport video for them. Obviously, photography. Please, guys, we don't want, I know we all always laugh about the agents that take pictures with their phone. It looks horrible. Plus, remember, you get to keep these pictures afterwards for your own marketing efforts. Your property website. Everything you do is to try and get top dollar for your seller, but at the same token, you want to use it for your own marketing efforts in order to get more business. Set up a property website. It's going to wow them. You can cheaply get a domain in GoDaddy.com and buy the property address as a domain. How can you use this? You can add it to your Facebook, boost it, run a Google ad, but also have it with a lead capturing service on there. So if somebody goes on there, sees the property, it's going to immediately ask them to register. So then you can capture that lead. Have the Matterport video linked on that website so they can click on it and feel like they are at the house, especially with so many out-of-town buyers buying sight unseen. You're representing the seller, and we're seeing a lot of properties go back on the market, and it's because the buyers did not see the property firsthand. They come down for inspection, then they realize it wasn't all to their liking, and they're deciding to back out. If you have the walkthrough video, it minimizes those chances of you falling out of contract if the event you do take an offer from one of those buyers that have not yet seen the property. It's very common nowadays. So gonna rush through a little bit because we are running short on time. All right, and knowing your numbers, extremely important. You want to have all the tools at your disposal and go equipped. Run your comps. Set it up. There's a feature on Matrix that I love. Let's say you select all your comps. You can click print CMA one line and then select it as a PDF view. You can either print it out or get that data and put it in a separate chart that you customize more with, let's say, your branding, your colors. What I love so much about this is it's going to show you the original list price, especially when markets shift, because we know markets shift and this one will soon shift. Let's say properties are staying longer on the market. It's going to show you the original price where the property started at, the current list price, and then the price that the property actually sold at. It's going to show you the days on the market. And then of course, bed, bath, square footage, all side by side. Even in today's market, it's a very effective tool because we are starting to see some properties stay longer in the market and then see price decreases because sellers are getting greedy and they're becoming unrealistic. Greed is a driving force. A lot of times we're seeing houses overpriced even by 200,000 in neighborhoods that you know they're not going to get that. So if you have one of those sellers with that unrealistic price point, it's a great tool to come out and show this house did the same exact thing. It's on the market for 3 months. It had to have a price decrease. This is what it sold at. So it gives you more leverage on either asking for price decreases or setting the price more to where it needs to be. Plus, you're more effective now in setting it. Let's say the highest comp in the development sold for 830, you're better off setting it at that price than going 100,000 over because that price is going to drive more traffic. If you have a deadline to submit offers and the agents, because all agents will call you, oh, how many offers do you have? If you tell them I have 20 offers versus 2, they're going to go back to their buyers and you're going to keep getting more and more aggressive purchase offers. Wes, do you want to add anything?
I mean, the biggest advice that I could give everybody here is in this market, don't overthink it. Sign the listing. I'm surprised at some of the numbers that I get. Like I listed a house that I sold, past clients, really important. I sold a house in October or November of 2020 for 780,000. The clients didn't do anything to it at all. And we listed it for 1.3 and it's under contract closing at 1.3. I thought the house was worth 1.1. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I listed it for 1.3. Somebody paid 1.3. It was a push. I did have 50 people go see the house and only one person bid on it. Hopefully they're not on this webinar with that realtor. That would suck. But we only had that one offer. We had a few other offers, actually, we really did, but only one serious offer. But don't overthink it. Sign the listing. Inventory is that low. Sign a 6-month listing. If it's not worth it by the time, as long as the market continues, it should catch up. The majority, I think in the past year, I think everything except for one property, everything I've listed has sold. And that one property wasn't complete. So there wasn't anything I could do about it when I had the listing, right? So I'm pretty much, getting almost every home sold. So really focus on signing the listing. Now, when I go to my listing presentations, I give them what I think the value is. If they want to list higher, that's what I'm referring to. I told them, I think your house is worth 1.1, 1.2 maybe. And they agreed with me, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't test the market as well. And if they want a higher number. So what ended up happening with that client is they were fine with 1.2, but we went to go see some properties. And when they started looking for what they were going to buy, they're like, we want to increase our price to 1.3. I could have easily said, no, I'm not going to do that, or go list with somebody else, or all of those things. I listed it for 1.3, sold their house for 1.3, and then sold them another house for more money. So really don't harp so much in this market. I like to tell clients, you know, you can't underprice a property in this market. So if you want to go with the lower value, the market will dictate the sales price. And there's no such thing as underpricing in this market, because if it's underpriced, people are going to bid it higher. I still go with a low, medium, and high price when I go to a listing presentation. So whenever I'm doing my comps, I'm getting a low price, which means that that house needs to be completely gutted. Medium price, which is average, and high price means fully remodeled. Every seller thinks their home is a high price right now, but really in this market, you should be pretty much listing closer to that high price, because chances are inventory so low, you're going to beat that number anyways. So I think that's all I wanted to add to that.
Right. And then every house that's being sold lately just sets a new comp. So even if you have to wait a bit, more than likely, you're going to get close to that number that the seller wants.
Yeah. Okay, so you're all prepped for your listing presentation. You sent your pre-listing email. You did your CMA. You have all your stuff ready to go, all of your marketing materials. You're good. What do you need to do next? Get to the listing presentation. And you need to get there on time. It's really important to get there on time, right? I don't know how many times, not necessarily me, right? I'm always late. I'm never late to a listing presentation. I will tell you that much. Because I know how important it is for especially some people that are punctual. If you're 5 minutes late to a listing presentation to a punctual person, they're not going to give you that listing. So those little details make a big difference. If you don't know the area, you need to get there even earlier and drive that area. I highly recommend, and I think Katherine just fell off, but it's okay. I highly recommend that you guys even go by the comps, right? And view the comps, because those sellers know that what their neighbors sold for. So drive through that area and see that comp, because guess what? You need to compare it to them. All right. So that's something that I do. Now, when I get to inside the house, everybody has their own methods, and everything I'm talking about is what works for me. What I do is I come, I introduce myself. Hi, how are you? Great. And can I ask them, can you tour me around your home? I want them to show me all about their home. I want them to present their home to me. I want them to tell me everything they like about their home. I want them to tell me what they don't like about their home either, because that's very important. We'll talk about that in a second. So I have them take me around the entire house. So I want to know what they upgraded, and I'm going to take notes. I want to know, every single detail. How old's the AC, the roof, windows. And during that time, what I am doing is I am in my mind thinking about how much this home is worth. I am thinking about, am I going to go at the high price? Am I going to go at the medium price? Or am I going to go at the low price, right? I am never, ever, ever shocked by anything I see. I'm always going to talk about the positives, right? But if I walk into something that I'm like, oh my God, this house needs a lot of work, that stays with me. I never want that seller to feel the slightest bit uncomfortable, right? Because you have to understand something. That's their property. That's how they live. And I am very tactful with anything that I say. I will not even mention anything that they need to do to the house until after I have finished my presentation, because I don't want to leave them with any feeling that their home is not good enough or that there's problems to get their home sold, right? So maybe I might talk about that during that pricing time frame, but right now it's all positivity. Walk me through your house. Let's building rapport with this person. And then once I'm done with the tour, I'm going to sit down with them and I'm going to ask them first, is there anywhere that they want to sit? Once I sit down with them, I'm going to start going over all of my marketing. Okay. Stop here for a second, because a few people have other things that they'd like to do. Like, for example, some people are going to tell you to have your sellers sit while you tour the house. That's a total power move. I like to make people feel comfortable, and that's my sales technique. Some people want to feel completely in control. That's up to you. Other people that I know want to sit somewhere different, sit outside, sit in the front porch, sit wherever. I typically like to sit in the dining room or the living room. One of those two, whichever one looks more comfortable for the sellers, that's what I want to sit in. Once I'm sitting down, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, by the way, did you get a chance to review my pre-listing email? Why do I do that? I want to see if they went through everything, right? So then that way I don't have to spend my time going through it all over. But in the event, if they didn't have a chance to look at it, it shows that they're too busy to handle this sale on their own, right? It also shows that, you know, they might not be not prepared, I don't want to say, but it also shows that I am very on top of it. I'm very on top of everything. They're not going to have to worry about it because I'm organized, I'm disciplined, and I'm going to get the whole job done. Okay. So from there, I go into marketing. I use my presentation and I go page by page, and I'm going to tell them everything that I'm going to do to get their home sold and why they should choose me. Because this class is short, we don't go over all of that today, but I have my value proposition. I hope everybody here has a value proposition on why they should choose you as your realtor. If you don't, that's the first thing that you should do to become a listing agent, is start thinking about your value proposition and how you give value to your clients and why somebody should list with you, because that's where you should start. And all of your marketing, right? Every marketing piece that you do should show them how you're going to get them there. A great value proposition is, I'm going to sell your home for top dollar, right? That's a simple one. I'm going to sell your home for top dollar, right? I'm going to streamline the process for you, right? So those are good ones to start with. Ideally, your value proposition long-term should be, I know this market better than anybody else. I'm a specialist in, pick an area, Miami Springs. I sell 60% of the homes in Miami Springs, and I have about 50% of the online buyer traffic that comes through this area. So I'm going to bring you more buyers to your home, right? So start thinking about that. For me, mine is, I sell historic homes. I'm a specialist in them. I know how to work with older homes and overcome any issues that might arise, because older homes, while they're beautiful, every person who owns an old home knows that they need a lot of work, right? So who better to pick than somebody who owns, restores, and sells historic homes for a living, which is going to help market your home to the right kind of buyers that are going to pay top dollar for your home, right? I'm going to reach those historic home lovers, and I'm going to know how to speak to them, market to them, to bring more of them to get you top dollar, right? So that's something that I do. Then from there, I go through all of my marketing, and then I go into my pricing, right? So that's where I start talking about, I want to know why they chose the home versus why the things that they don't like about the home. Why they chose the home is going to be the things that you need to highlight in marketing, and why they don't like the home is going to be the reason people don't make offers, right? So you need to ask them that information, because those are things that are going to show that you know your market. Ideally, you want to identify them yourself, but if you can't, start asking. Ask those questions, and it's really important. From there, I'm going to go into my pricing. Once I have my pricing, I'm going to pull out my CMA, which is similar to this. It's printed, binded, hardcover, whatever it is. And I'm going to start talking about the market summary and what's happening in the market. Every seller knows that it's the best time to sell. So you could spend a little time on that, but really, you want to go into the nuts and bolts of where their value is. I do what I call is bracketing, right? So I already know, once I sit down with them, if I'm going to be in that medium number or that high number. And then what I do is I compare their house to their neighbor's house, property by property. I do this with every single seller, and it works like a charm, because they get to really understand where that number is coming from, right? And this is what they do anyways, because every seller sits there and compares their house to their neighbor's houses on Zillow. My house is better than this. My house is worse than this. Look at this house. So you just do the exercise with them. right? So then you go and I look at, oh, this house has a pool. You don't have a pool. We could agree that this house is going to sell for more, right? People pay more for houses with pools. This house is smaller than yours, it needs more work. This house, you're going to sell for more than that house. So I go through them house by house until I show them pretty much a range, right, of where their house should be and why it's going to be priced at that number. Now, in this market, the next thing that I do is I look, this is what your home will typically appraise for, more or less, based on these sales. But because there's low inventory, we could potentially price it depending on how quickly they want to sell. If they want to sell quick, I'm like, let's price it at this number, and they agree, great. But if they're one of those that they want to test the market or they want to pick a higher number, I do it within reason. I look at my actives, what's currently active on the market, what's my competition, and then I price it below that number, like below the lowest available within reason too, right? So I could also still get traction, but get that listing signed and still go from there. Finally, so I hope that makes sense to everybody. Finally, I cover commission last. I always sign 6% commission. So what I do is, the commission is 6%. I split it, that's split between the buyer and the seller. And I don't explain that if I need to, or if I need to, I say, if I represent both the buyer and the seller, the commission will be dropped to 5%. In this market, you do see a lot more commission reductions because you do have a lot of listing. You have a lot of, how would I say this, agents, just signing listings that I've seen as low as 3%, 4%, 5%. I have had to lower here or there, like on higher price dollar deals. But I don't go below 5 on any listing. If I have to, absolutely. Typically what I do in my last 3 listings, I sign them except for one. And that's because she didn't have that much equity when she thought she had more. Every single listing I've signed at 6%. And what I do is I basically tell them, I give them a range. So if I sell your house, for example, I have one that I'm working on right now, that if I sell your house above 1.3, and I think her house is worth 1.3, if I sell it above 1.3, I'm going to get a 6% commission. If I sell it below 1.3, I'm going to get a 5%. And the way that I explain this to sellers is I basically, let's work together. Let's align our goals, right? You want me to help you get top dollar. So let's align our goals that if I sell it for this premium or this price or a premium, I'm going to get 6% commission. So I'm going to push to get you that money. And then if it sells below that price, you're going to get a credit, you're going to get a reduction to 5%. So that's one way that I overcome the commission. That works primarily all the time because people love for goals to be aligned. And then they feel like we're on the same team, right? When you're negotiating commission, people don't feel like they're on the same team, right? But when you sell it to them like that, they feel like they're on the same team. So I hope that was helpful.
Right. And then you never want to make them feel like they have a price tag, that you are just after them for your commission and that they are just another sale. You, in addition to building that relationship, you need to build a partnership with them. So they, like she said, they feel and they know that you both are in it together with a common goal and you're both working together, and that you're going to do everything in your power to help them achieve that mutual goal. All right, so hopefully you got that listing. You have it signed, put it on the market. How can you use that listing to get more sellers and buyers? Especially in today's market, you have to maximize every single opportunity, every single listing as much as possible to obtain more leads. You can easily do that with listings. When we were mentioning marketing efforts before, we talked about consistency and touches. Having a listing easily gives you at least 4 touches to the surrounding neighborhood. Whenever there's some property on the market, more than likely another property will be sold in that neighborhood anywhere from 30 to 60 days. So you want to try and be in front of every single neighbor as much as possible to make sure that you are getting that next listing. Your very first marketing piece should be the coming soon. And however you want to work this, whether it's a flyer that you go door knocking and you hand it to them, door hanger, or a postcard, that is completely up to you and your budget. But do these. First one should be a coming soon. This one you can easily set up in a hanger, especially since we have to do it 24 hours before it's active on the MLS. But that way everyone knows that that house is coming on the market soon. If you're going to send a postcard with the just listed, make them in advance so it hits everybody's mailbox the day that it goes live. That is your second marketing piece. And be consistent with your branding. Even if they tend to look the same, that way they start seeing your face, the branding over and over, and they start assimilating you with that neighborhood, calling you when they want to sell that house. Or even if it's for a question, the goal is to at least get them on the phone to then eventually, hopefully, get your foot in that door. Once it's under contract, and I don't see a lot of agents taking advantage of this at all, but send out another postcard, or even if it's a door hanger, with under contract. Of course, do not put the price, because that could definitely work to our disadvantage if the house comes off the market. You have to put the house back on the market. But if you want to maybe put above asking price, that's fine. How many offers you received, but start to build momentum and excitement from that house that's under contract right now. And then once it closes, of course, send out the just sold. But not just sold. How many just solds do you get in your mailbox? Not just necessarily from that neighborhood. Have a story to it. Highest price sold in your neighborhood. Find out how. Maybe you have a little story underneath or a QR code that you can scan, takes you over to that property, and you tell them exactly what you did. You put it on the market Thursday. You held open houses Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You had over 100 showings. You had over 20 offers you negotiated. You got them X amount. You made sure that you added verbiage to maximize purchase price, to maximize closed price. Have something that they can read and relate to. And then, of course, your call to action. Now, always have a QR code with your postcards or anything you send out. Thanks to COVID, everyone, even grandma and pop and grandpa, know how to use QR codes. They can easily scan it, whether it's to automatically drop your information onto their phone or to send them over to the seller evaluation page. Wanted to touch on open houses, how to do them right, because this is another great opportunity to potentially get in front of more sellers. And then, of course, buyers. Everyone just hosts an open house nowadays. They put balloons in the front, they put it on the MLS that syndicates to all the websites. People see it, they show up. However, market it online. Remember how we mentioned Instagram and Facebook ads are very inexpensive, and it really gets your message out in front of hundreds and thousands of people. And one thing you can at least target on these two platforms is cities and zip codes. So if, let's say, you have a listing in 33029, you can set it for that area code. So everyone that has an IP address that relates to that area, your ad for the open house is going to pop up. Have it where if they click on the picture, it immediately takes them over to that specific property, the property website. Host a neighborhood meet and greet an hour before. So if your open house is from, let's say, 12 to 5 or 12 to 3, have it host something for the neighbors from 11 to 2. In this case, go back to just old school door knocking with an invitation to them. Hi, I'm Katherine Arteta. Just wanted to invite you to a neighborhood open house that I'm hosting for all sellers. Mention you're going to have property information. Don't give them the information right then and there because you want them to go to your open house. hand them your business card, hand them the flyer with the open house. Again, include the QR code. Once they're there, have the property information, have the neighborhood information, but go a little bit more in depth, not just the comps, include the surrounding schools, parks, things that are great for their neighborhood. The neighbors love where they live. If they see that you're including all that, they're going to feel that you know and love their neighborhood also. Starts to build a little bit more of that relationship. Also, when you're hosting the actual open house, we've all seen the lines going out the door. Do not do it by yourself. Have at least one other person or two other with you, especially depending on the size of the house. One should be at the door, should not move. That's going to be the person in charge of collecting everyone's names. Now, more than ever, a lot of buyers are showing up without agents. You want to make sure that you are getting those leads information so you can call them afterwards. And then have yourself inside and then someone else, just keeping an eye on everybody. But your job should be to answer any questions and be at their disposal, not following them around. That's why you have other people there helping you. Wes, do you want to add anything?
An open house is not necessarily, but I think there's a lot to do with making your listings work for you. I would highly recommend, some of you guys are writing in the chats, highly recommend whenever you list, whenever you sell, you need to continuously send them out. I know the timeline is short, but the point is that you want to be visible to these consumers, right? I feel like you're like, oh, I already sold it, let me not send this mailer out. The point of the mailer isn't to get the buyer. The point of the mailer is to market yourself, right? So you need to market yourself as a listing agent if you want to get more listings. If not, you're just a realtor, just like the 55,000 realtors that have a license, right? So the point is branding yourself as a listing agent and continuously showing your resume of work. So I just want to add on that.
No, and I see the comment in the chat that says that the timeline is hard and the property just are not staying that long on the market. When you get that listing agreement, the property is not going to go on the market the very next day. Depending on what you agree or if they're going to do anything to the house, it could be a week, sometimes it could be a month. So in that scenario, you want to start prepping all your mailers to have them ready. So the coming soon, you know when you're going to put the house on the market. So you know when that coming soon is going to hit. You know when the new listing is going to appear online. If it goes under contract in 3 days, don't be stressed out thinking that the postcard has to hit the very next day. No, it's going to take usually at least 30 days to close. So if it appears in their mailbox a week or two after, that's perfectly okay. And then right when it closes, you don't have to send the postcard out the very next day. Could be another week or two. So that way you can spread them out. So there's no excuse to not be sending at least those 4 touches on every single listing.
Mm-hmm. I just sent a postcard for a property that I closed 6 months ago. So don't stress it. That's not the issue. The issue is get the mailer out and get more business, right? So Katherine, you want me to do this one really quick? So we're a little pressed for time.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, guys. So make your listings work for you. Get more business from that. You need to get to the closing table, right? There's nothing worse, especially in this market, that you list a property and you actually don't close it, right? You guys should be closing anywhere from 90 to 95% of your listings in this market, overpriced or not, especially with some of the sales that we've seen out there. So the biggest thing that you could do to make sure you have a successful sale is communication. Understanding your client's needs too is really important, right? Really making sure that their expectations are managed. Let's talk about that transaction that I had, that I was telling you guys that I sold it for 1.3 and now they're buying another property. At any point, if I didn't understand her concerns and communicate with her, she would have quit and stayed in her house, because a lot of sellers in this market are like, where do I go to next? right? So communicating with them and easing their fears and making sure that they feel that you could get them into a different house, right, is gonna help you get more deals done. Because communication, I always say over communicate, right? Because what ends up happening is if you're not communicating with them, they start getting in their own heads and they start freaking out, or they start telling themselves their own stories. You want to control the narrative, and you want to make sure that you keep everything on track, because in this market, you have a lot of people that are really high, I don't want to say anxiety, but that they're very stressed out because they don't know where they're going to go, because inventory is low. So I highly recommend that. You need to do weekly updates as to what's going on. The good thing about this market is typically you do an open house and you sell it. But if you don't, you need to let them know their marketing efforts, how many showings you're having, feedback. And then I highly recommend that you set up an auto search on the MLS that sends them what goes pending, what closes, what's expired, what's canceled. So then when you have to have discussions about getting a price reduction, let the MLS work for you. Make it easier. You should review your pricing every 15 to 30 days. You should be selling really quickly in this market. You want to review your marketing efforts and your analytics. I don't know, Katherine, if you want to touch on that and the transaction coordinator and closing.
Yeah, one thing I do want to add, I know we have on here weekly updates. In this market, of course, things sell within days or a week. However, instead of it being weekly, send them an update every single day. I know all of us work our butts off when we have listings, because especially if you're personally showing those listings, you are there working sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day, filled with filled with showings. Send them an email if you're not seeing them before you leave. Or even if you see them, I would still send them an email recapping. This is how many showings we had. This was the feedback I received. This couple said this, just a detailed email. So they have that. Also, we're a referral-based business. The number one complaint everyone always has is that agents don't communicate. That's setting an amazing example, especially if later on, because once you sell your property, all your acquaintances know. The family, the friends, and a lot of times are going to end up saying, oh my God, I've been thinking about selling my property also. Who's going to be your biggest cheerleader? Your seller that you just massively impressed. And one of the things that they're really going to say about you is how well you communicated with them. So even in this market, properties are selling in a blink of an eye. Don't skim on things. Still do everything you normally do. Just as I mentioned, instead of weekly, do it daily. One thing you should always do, have a transaction coordinator. Introduce them as part of your team. Especially once you're under contract. That also alleviates some stress off of you. Doesn't mean that you completely are away from the transaction. You're not keeping an eye on it, but it's another set of eyes. You introduce them as part of your team. They're going to be the liaison then afterwards between you, the buyer's agent, title, and lending, to make sure that everything is going smooth for that listing and it doesn't fall apart and has to go back on the market. Get a transaction coordinator that the minute they see there might be a hiccup, they're immediately getting you involved. Because if you can tackle problems ahead of time, usually they will get resolved. And then you will be at the closing table. So the seller closed. Now what? How many of you knew that the average lifetime value of a client is $117,000? That means if, let's say, you have me as one of your sellers, you sell my house, we close, great. You can give me a great gift, done. I never hear from you again. My value is $117,000 in potential referral commission or commission that you're going to receive from more business from me, because more than likely, I will probably end up buying another property, selling again, or I will refer you business. So, Wes, you want to touch on a couple of things?
Yeah. Guys, the biggest mistake you guys could do in real estate is not stay in touch with your clients. not having a system to stay in touch with them after closing. $117,000 is the lifetime value for clients throughout the nation, right? It's more like $500,000 right here in Miami, right? Because we have bigger commissions. So what are you going to do to stay in touch with them? There's a ton of things that you guys can do. You guys can call them every few months, pass by once a year, send them email blasts, send them cards, send them gifts, stay in their faces, right? You want to be remembered. There's 4 R's in sales. I should have started with this, but there's 4 R's in sales, right? All of that applies to being a listing agent. If you want to be a pro listing agent, it's be ready, be relentless, be resourceful, and be remembered. If you are not remembered, you're going to always just be after transaction and after transaction and after transaction. And you're just going to be one of those burn and churn agents that you're not going to take control of your pipeline. If the market shifts, you're not going to last, right? Because those burn and churn agents, you don't have as many transactions to burn and churn when your transaction volume drops. The ones that last are the ones that stay in touch with their clients, build relationships, make sure to give every client extreme value at every step of the way, that they're always going to want to call you back. Be remembered is the last R. I'm going to just talk about me. I've done at this point at least over 1,000 transactions, me personally. I don't know the exact number, but a couple years ago, right before COVID hit, I pulled up all my transactions. I literally had 800 transactions under my belt at that time, and I never stayed in touch with anybody. I kept hearing, send gifts, send gifts, send gifts, send gifts, send gifts. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. It took me 3 months to put my database together, but thank God that I put my database together. And I sent every single client a gift. Clients that I hadn't spoken to in 10 years, in 12 years, and as long as I've been practicing, which is a really long time right now. I sent them all gifts. I had so many of them reach out to me saying, sell my house, sell my friend's house. I want to buy a house. Here, I got from that investment that I sent them each, I think it was like $30 gifts, right? So I spent, and my list went from, that's the moral of the story. My list went from 800 to 120 because those people sold. Those people moved away. All I could put together was 120 of them. But I sent out 120 gifts that Christmas with a gift card, nothing special, but a note, handwritten letter, mailed it to everybody. I spent, let's say, all in all, no more than $5,000. It was probably like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. I don't remember the exact number. I got over, I would say at this point, over $200,000 in commissions just from that. From people, come sell my $500,000 house, come sell my $1 million house. I sold one lady 3 properties just from sending gifts from people that I hadn't spoken to in 10 years. So please don't make the same mistake I did. I love to be like the poster child for making that mistake. Continuously do that. Stay in touch with them. I still do that to this day. Every single one of my clients gets a gift, bare minimum, every 6 months. Every single one, without me having to do anything. And think about how my conversations with my clients go when they're getting gifts from me. Do you think I'm having better conversations with them? Right? Do you think it's hard to follow up with them and be like, hey, how's everything going? It's like, hey, did you get the gift I sent you? Right? I don't have to be like, do you want to sell your house? Right? They're going to call me when it's time to sell my house. They'll sell their house. That house that I just sold in Miami Springs that I talked about earlier today, past client of mine, sold their house 12 years ago, send her a gift every 6 months. Hey, here's an $850,000 listing. The $1.3 million listing I just got, that's buying a $1.3 million house and selling 1.3, buying 1.5, past client, send them gifts. That's, your business will flourish if you put in the time, effort to stay in touch with these people. So don't look at this as a transaction. Look at this as a relationship. Continue to build that relationship. And that's what's going to make you successful and separate you from the pack. That's all I got to say.
And especially, I would say the first year, they're really sentimental gifts and they don't have to be expensive at all. It could be, let's say you close a month after, pass by their house, take a picture of them the day of closing or take a picture of them in front of their house and then show up with it framed. That's really going to stir them inside. And it's a beautiful gift that they're going to put into their house. For the holidays, of course, know what they celebrate, but for the holidays, if they celebrate Christmas, get them an ornament for their first year in their house. You can customize them online. Very inexpensive, but again, it pulls on their emotional heartstrings, and it's something that they'll immediately want to call you and thank you. And just get creative with your gifts and put them on a campaign where you touch them every so often, because as she's mentioning, eventually, once you build up your past clients, you can actually just stop marketing and build a business just off your referrals if you really work your past clients and your sphere correctly. All right, let's go over some of the questions in the chat. Well, first off, I want to give a big thanks again to our sponsors. Thank you, TrueView, Giovanni with Cutting Edge Gifts, and Don from Fallenbog CPA Advisors. A big thank you. If you haven't used them already, give them a try. We've all used them and they are all amazing. All right, so let's go over some of these questions. Do you have to go?
Before we do that, if you guys are interested in anything that we spoke about, I'm writing my email in the chat right now, okay? And if you have a question that we miss, email us. And Catherine, can you write yours too? So I didn't actually get mine in there. Hold on. So send us a question, right? And we will go ahead and answer. If it's something that we covered that you want to see or anything along those lines, shoot us an email. You guys have our emails there. Catherine, you want to go do the first question?
Yes. All right, let's start from the back. Okay, there's one here. As a listing agent, do the seller need to choose their own title company, even if a buyer agent and buyer choose to select one? Remember, sellers will still need their own representation. So even if the buyer chooses their title company, you're still going to need an attorney to have them do their paperwork. If sellers choose to use their own title company, some counties in Florida, that's how they run business. I recently sold a house up in Gainesville, and sellers actually always choose title up there. But then the seller also pays for the expenses, for example, title search, lien search, and actually the buyer's policy also.
Another question, how to balance the different ways in which you get business. Would you recommend starting with 2 different ways before expanding? Yes. Guys, don't try to do it all. Master, a jack of all trades, master of none. Start perfecting your craft and then build on that. I highly recommend that. Please don't try to be an expert in everything. You will never get there, right? You're just going to be doing 10%. You're going to be working at a 10% at 10 different things. Go all in 100% in one thing, own that and perfect that. Then you build on something else. Imagine if you were trying to learn to play 10 different instruments at the same time. Can you do it? Sure. It's just going to take you a really long time to get there. Wouldn't you want to play one instrument perfectly and then maybe learn another one? So that's my motto.
All right, so how do listing agents get the DU instead of a pre-approval if a lender doesn't want to give it? And how do you make a quality decision that they are lender qualified to insure the seller? So yes, some lenders will not want to issue DUs because technically that is private information from the buyers. There's a lot of personal information in that DU. If you run across that scenario, call the lender, see the terms of the contract first. If they're going above purchase price, if let's say the house is at $850 and they're sending you an offer for $950 and you know it's not going to appraise, you need to make sure that they have the difference for, they have the cash for that difference. Personally, I would also add verbiage to ensure that if it appraises for less than $950, they are going to pay in cash that difference in addition to their down payment. I would then call the lender, verify that they have ran their tax returns, their W-2s, their credit, reconfirm that they've run everything for the type of loan that they're getting, whether it's FHA, conventional, jumbo, and then verify the funds with them. Tell the lender what offer they presented, that they are giving, let's say 20% down, and that they are going 100 over and saying they have the cash for it. And flat out ask, do they have the funds in this scenario to cover that? If he says yes, great, they're good. If he's hesitant and he's like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to check, then there might be an issue there. Because even if they're waiving appraisal, at the end of the day, if there's a loan attached to that, attached to the offer, there's a loan commitment period. They can still get a denial letter. So you want to make sure that you dot your I's and cross all your T's, and you are asking specific questions to that lender.
A lot of you guys are asking for the recording for the chat. The recording in the chat. Kevin, are you going to send this recording to everybody?
Yep, we'll send it out probably next week.
Awesome. I think we already answered how do you respond to lowering the commission? If you're new, what do you use as marketing material? You should have a listing presentation of what you're going to do to sell a home. You don't need to include your past sales, but I highly recommend high-end realtors. A lot of high-end realtors I know have resumes that they use. I believe in marketing yourself as a $2, $3, $4, $5 million agent, even to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes. So start working on a resume. But if you're just starting out, if you don't have that, it's okay. I still don't always use a resume, right? Because I sometimes don't even update it. I really hone in on that booklet that like presentation that I customize for those sellers. Okay, so and I do that for any property over 800, 900, but you don't necessarily need that.
And even if you don't have a formal resume, always include your past sales. That alone is an easy resume that you can show them, especially if most of your business is referral based, you're probably going to have sales scattered. And in this market, as I mentioned, every home that's selling is a new comp and a better comp that's breaking the last record. So if they're seeing that you sold a house in 5 different areas and you broke records in all of them, that just really puts a light on you. Yeah.
Somebody asked, do you recommend having a seller do a pre-listing inspection? No, because then you have to disclose everything. So I definitely don't recommend that. I do ask specific questions. So I am pretty keen on identifying the problems without an inspection, right? Just by asking certain questions, I already am going to know what we need to work about, what we need to do. But I'm not going to necessarily just go ahead and do that for buyers when maybe they don't even want an inspection, right? Why am I going to complicate the sale? So I don't recommend that.
All right. One of you asked, who pays for photography, video, and staging? They are paying you all this commission. They're going to want to see that you are also putting in some of your own efforts. Definitely pay for the photography. Do not be that agent that goes in and takes pictures with your cell phone. Pay for professional photography. Like I said, it's an investment in yourself and in marketing also, because you get to use that later on for your marketing efforts. Matterport, walkthrough videos, pay for them. It is to your advantage. Staging, that can go either way. You can, and because that is going to be a bit more money than just the photography and video. You can work something out with them if they are set on not paying for the staging, but you know that you're going to get them much more money if it's staged. Because we've all encountered those homes that have weird floor plans where buyers sometimes just don't have imagination and it needs to be staged. Work something out with them where they at least pay for it up front and you'll reimburse them at closing, or try to get them to pay for the staging up front. Wes?
I'm going to do 2 more. I think we're done at 3, right? So I'm going to do appraisal before listing it. Highly recommended. I do a pre-listing appraisal on a lot of my properties. In this market, you don't necessarily have to always do it. But on my higher end homes, I do it just to kind of get a benchmark as to where the number is going to be. So I know how much somebody's going to have to pay over appraisal, more or less, and make sure that they have those proof of funds. So I'm not wasting my time, right? Because you have people that are going to be like, oh, I'm going to do 50 over appraisal. and then it's $100,000 gap based on my appraisal and what the sales price is, well, what are we going to do with that $50,000 difference? You know, so I definitely highly recommend that. I'm not going to do it for a $400,000 house, $500,000 house. I'm going to do it on those higher price points just to make sure that we're okay. And then I see this question asked like 3 times, so I just want to cover it. How are we overcoming interest rate objections for sellers that are turning around to buy in this market? That's a great question, right? And that's something that a lot of you guys got to think about. If people bought at a 3%, but then they're going to go buy at a 5%, that's going to be a payment shock right there, right? You're going to have to get creative. I'm going to be wholeheartedly honest with you, right? You're going to have to be creative. I just had that case with the $1.3 million house to the $1.5 million house. But if you get those D's, that motivation is going to be worth it for them. Why? It's a necessity. So they outgrew their home. They had a second child, right? So you're looking for those more motivated sellers that it's going to make sense for them, that hopefully their income has gone up, that they're going to be able to afford more. That's what we did in that case, but it's going to be a true objection. That's going to be a more and more of an issue coming down the road. So you're going to have to get creative. But I think it's a shorter term issue than a longer term issue because markets always correct themselves. So just keep it in the back of your minds, but maybe they need to move sideways instead of moving up so much, right? So maybe they're going to make a more lateral move. Maybe down the road, you see a little bit more of assumption of these mortgages that are at this 2-3% interest rate.
Hey guys, want to thank everyone for being here. I do want to mention YPN's going to be doing a seller series. So this was part 1 of the seller series where we touched on a little bit of everything, but we are going to be going over more in depth certain things. So if you don't follow YPN already, follow them on IG, sign up for the email so you can always be in the know of any new classes and any events we have going on.
If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, don't you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah. Just